Happy 4th of July, everybody. This is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Captain America and the Winter Soldier. This movie came out in 2014, and it is one of the best all-time MCU movies. And heck, it might just be the best and everything, next to the Avengers Infinity War and Captain America Civil War. The Captain movies always do well. However, what's crazy about this movie is that it's an MCU sequel that surpasses the first movie in every way, shape, and form. The Russo brothers took over from the last director. I thought the first Captain America movie was really good. It just lacked a lot of good action. The choreography just wasn't all that stellar. But then in this movie, my God, it's like you watching like a Daniel Craig James Bond movie, but with Captain America in it, because the focus has now shifted. Gone is a war movie, and now they went into the spy genre, and Shield is a huge player in this. This set up events that later trickled into the Agents of Shield television show back when that show was connected to the MCU. In this version, Captain America is a man who is getting acquainted with his new life in the 21st century. And he's making the best for it. He's not trying to dwell in it. He's not trying to complain. He's just living life like he would before. Still that of a soldier and still that of a super soldier. And, we see him, making his list and literally trying to figure out, what makes the 21st century the 21st century. Everything he's missed for 60 years. And it's there he meets Sam Wilson. And Sam Wilson was a really good addition to like the MCU, although he always felt like Captain America's sidekick. Joining him in this movie is Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and that of Black Widow, and the Winter Soldier. So basically, after the first, we haven't seen Captain America since like the first Avengers movie. There, Josh Whedon kind of made him into a doofus, but the Russos were there to man him up once again and giving him a much better suit than that of the Avengers movie. The stealth suit is amazing. It's all blue with silver highlights, and there's a speck of red near the hip areas on the side. But then they gave him a new shield, a stealth shield. It's blue and silver, a muted color, and a muted red in the middle. You can't really see the red. And then when you look at the toy of it, because there's like a giant life-size toy of it, it's just all blue and silver in a different shade of blue. Hasbro did not do a good job in trying to match the colors. Same way what they did with the original shield, because there's no silver in it. It's just red, white, and blue. But then they made a new one that's more faithful with the silver in it that matches the one of the MCU. And the one great thing about the first movie is like, Captain America, Steve Rogers was, he proved, what heart and determination a person can have to get the job done. In this movie, they prove why you need a super soldier. Everything has been cranked up, especially the choreography. The choreography is beyond breathtaking. The way he fights is like insane. He's doing flips at random. He's using his shield more effectively. He's using his hand-to-hand combat skills more effectively. And the CGI on how fast he can run and his super strength is cool to see. Like, you really see that he is a super soldier for the first time. You really didn't get that effect in the first movie. He just seemed like a regular person who had a cool costume. But in this movie, he is very much a superhero and everything. To the point when he's chasing after the Winter Soldier, he's banging into stuff, but he's literally crashing into it, making dents in the wall and busting through doors and stuff. And I really like how they utilized his strength in this movie and his speed and accuracy with the shield. The shield is just bouncing around everything. One of the coolest scenes ever is when he took out a helijet and everything. He took out a literal jet just with his shield and everything. And he took out, I think, one of the engines, and then turbine engine, and he hopped on top of it by doing a flip. Then he took out the rest of it with the shield and just hopped on off it. And if we would have had the first director, we would have never seen that. My only flaw, and I do mean the only flaw in this movie, is that Shield went bye bye, and like they never explained what happened to the stealth suit or the stealth shield, especially the stealth shield. The stealth shield is only shown in the beginning of the movie, but the suit, what happened to his suit? After he went to get the flash drive, he had his regular clothes on and he needed a suit, so he went and stole his World War II suit. And it's just like, well, what happened to the stealth suit and everything? And so I really wish they would have kept that. But I understand why they went back to basics and everything. It makes everything go full circle. And the supporting cast is great. However, Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow, she seemed like she was kind of annoyed in this movie. Like, I like her as Black Widow. I don't love her as Black Widow, but I like her in Black Widow, especially in the movies she's acting. In this, it seems like she doesn't want to be there. She's not giving none of her lines any enthusiasm, and she's not really giving off that spy vibe that much. It just really seems like she just don't want to be there and stuff. And this is very early on in the MCU. Now, one of the reasons why she probably doesn't want to be there is because, once again, she's a supporting cast member to somebody else's movie. The first time we saw her was in Iron Man 2. And Iron Man 2, I really didn't like her acting that much, but I liked how she acted kind of like Natasha Romanoff, that sexy spy type vibe. That's the only time you'll ever see her do that. Every other time she's just there, blunt and forceful and everything. But like it's just something was off about like her, like, the way she kept talking and stuff. And like I said before, it really felt like she didn't want to be there. And maybe because like she had to be a supporting cast member. She's basically a third wheel in this movie and stuff. And well, actually, Sam was more of a third wheel, but yeah, she had to guest star in somebody's movie again because nobody would give her at that time her own movie. And it would take 10 years later for her to finally have her own movie. And it was a pretty okay movie, and that's just it. Like, it was pretty good, but it wasn't great or nothing. And it didn't really feel like a Black Widow movie. It just felt like another generic MCU movie. We still didn't dive deep into like her past as much as I would like, because there's so much to go into. How she joined Shield, what happened to her when she met Hawkeye and everything. Why did she never act like a spy? Like, she never acts like an old 1940s, 1960s James Bond type spy. She always act like a type of soldier type person. And in this movie, that's how she really is again. And it's quite a shame because Scarlett Johansson will never return to the MCU at any time soon because her character is dead, and she's a little upset at Kevin Feige. In the earlier days, it really seemed like she was going to get her movie, but it took 10 years while all the guys got theirs. She would benefit from the MCU Disney Plus show where you can go into her past and see all the cool stuff happening. But like I said before, that's not going to happen. And when she sued Disney for money because of how they released her movie, I don't think they're going to be partnering up anytime soon. And that's quite a shame. And so we get to see some of Cap's like villains, like I think it's Bonesaw. I think it's Bone something. I think, but he's in his regular non-suit, like villain suit and everything. We also get to see George St. Pierre play that dude who leaps frog around everywhere. He's a villain from the comics. I wish to God they would stop bringing in these athletes GSA, no, John St. Pierre, GSP, he's a great fighter, but he can't act. Chris Evans gives it his all in this movie. Like, I love the journey we take with that of Steve Rogers. First, he's a man, integrating into life, only to get some disturbing news when we see Peggy. She's a really, really, really old woman now who has Alzheimer's or dementia. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Alzheimer's, the one you forget. And it pains him. Like, when he's there with her, he's acting like, he's still back in like the 50s or 60s. But then when she starts to forget, then, it takes a toll on him and stuff. That is his one true love, and he can't have her the way he wants to and stuff. He can't even be there to have a normal conversation because she won't remember it. And, he still grieves over that of Bucky, his best friend. And so in this movie, we start to see more and more of the progression of Captain America, or digression, I should say, because of the simple fact, Cap is starting to not believe in what he used to believe in. When Cap became a soldier, he did it because he wanted to fight a good cause. He became a super soldier so he can ensure that like what he's fighting for has meaning. Problem is, with the first Avengers movie, the military people that he's associated with are spies. And it turns out that the person in command, Nick Fury, lied to him and stuff, and lied to the other Avengers. Why? Because they're using weapons that Hydra used during the war. And Cap feels like, we're no better than them if we're using weapons of mass destruction like them to get an upper hand. And in this movie, it echoes that a lot. Like, on his first mission, he sees that Natasha is doing some shady stuff when he went to go rescue some SHIELD agents on a pirate ship. And so it turns out she had an extra motive for being on there by the hands of Nick Fury. And he doesn't like it when Nick lies. Nick Fury is a person who would do whatever it takes to ensure the mission is a success. Whether it's lie, cheat, steal, whatever. Which causes a lot of heroes in the comics not to like him. And he doesn't have any regrets because he's doing it for the world and everything. And also the country. And so Nick shows him Project Insight. Basically, they took Iron Man's tech. They improved upon the helicarriers. Instead of having turbine engines, now they have repulsors and stuff. And it's armed to the teeth with weaponry and everything. Also, it has some type of facial recognition where it can literally scan the entire planet for a person's DNA profile, find them, target them, and take them out like a drone in the sky. And there's 3 of them. Captain America feels like this is too much power. And with too much power can corrupt. Because he's starting to see that SHIELD and Hydra are basically one and the same. They're an organization of spies and mercenaries who would ensure and do whatever it takes to get their mission accomplished and stuff for a new world order. And he is not for that. When Fury is taken out by his own people, he goes into straight up soldier mode to figure out what is this strange spy conspiracy type thing that's going on within his ranks. And I love how Nick Fury snuck into his place, pretended like his wife kicked him out. Well, now we know that's not even a ruse. He really is married. In the new Disney Plus Secret Invasion, he's married to a Skrull. And so we meet Agent 13, which is Peggy Carter's niece. I don't think they mention it in this movie, but because Peggy mentioned that she married somebody that Steve rescued. We find out in Endgame that he went back into the past, married her. So technically in Civil War, he kissed his own grandniece and everything. Ugh. And so This causes him to come into conflict with the Winter Soldier. He has no idea who he is, but this man is as strong and fast as him, and he's sporting a nice metal arm. It turns out the Winter Soldier is Bucky. Bucky was experimented on when he was taken prisoner back during the war. This is causing so much emotion from Captain America. He now has his best friend back, but his best friend is mind wiped and evil. So it's really tough because he has to go up against not only his better half, but his former best friend. And with help from his new friends, Black Widow and Sam Wilson, they try to stop Winter Soldier and Hydra from taking over. It is discovered that like Hydra has been secretly in the ranks of Shield for decades when they kidnapped Zola back in like the World War, and they forced him to work for Shield. But he's been recruiting SHIELD agents to be the new Hydra and stuff. And I do like how they did Zola, put his brain, like, memory stuff in a computer, which is very reminiscent of what happened in the comics. In the comics, he's a giant computer monitor with like a robotic body. Here, he's just a computer thing. And so SHIELD has been compromised big time. And, like he doesn't know who he can trust within Shield. Nobody does because they're secretly Hydra agents and stuff. Doing an amazing, I mean amazing fight choreography. Him, Sam, and Natasha take down like Hydra agents and the Winter Soldier and stuff. And he tries his best to save his brainwashed friend. And on top of that, Nick Fury's friend, who's now the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D., is also part of Hydra. And he's been causing a lot of this bad stuff to happen. And there's actually a continuity issue now because of Secret Invasion. In Secret Invasion, we now know how Nick Fury got his scratch over his eye. And in the 90s, he has hair and he has an eye patch. However, when he knew this dude back in the day and he became director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he had no eye patch and he was bald. So this is a huge continuity issue because it's a blink and you'll miss it scene from like the movie and stuff. Now you can't see his eye that's supposed to be messed up, but you can clearly see by the way he's turned, he still has a pupil there and stuff. And so, like, and also what makes me mad now about Secret Invasion is that Nick Fury didn't become who he was because he took risks and disobeyed orders and was willing to sacrifice many to, ensure the mission and stuff. It's because of the scroll. They set everything in place for him to be the man he is. And that pisses me off because now he's literally just a sponge of a person who sponged off them and everything. He's not that courageous person that we saw in all these movies back in the day. And I hate how they downgraded his character. And so, like, this movie is a testament of, like, what a superhero movie should look like. It has a different genre, a spy genre, who has better directors, better fight choreographers. This movie is literally perfection in everything. And I'm surprised it surpassed the first. And yes, the other movie, Civil War, is extremely good, but that's really Avengers 2.5 and everything. Because the second Avengers movie didn't do so well, so that was kind of like a makeup movie and stuff. It's basically Captain America had to share his movies with the entire Avengers and stuff. But, and I miss this old, like, MCU, like, format. This movie has little to no humor in it. And when they do have humor, it's smart humor and everything. As opposed to what the MCU became later on. It became a giant laugh fest and everything. But this movie is the true deal and everything. And you will really honestly see why they need a super soldier and a person with integrity, because him and Black Widow, they take down all of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because of these events, he realized that S.H.I.E.L.D. is no better than Hydra, so he exposed them to the entire world. And this really, like I said before, started a pattern, like with the first Avengers movie. We'll start to see Captain America move away from the red, white, and blue. His suits will start to get more muted and everything, to the point of being almost nearly black in, like, Infinity War. It gets brightly colored again in the second Avengers movie and stuff, but once you get to Civil War, it starts to get muted. And it's because he no longer sees his superiors for what they are. He sees them as liars and traitors and stuff. And and it's kind of like he doesn't know what he's fighting for anymore. And he really, sorry, my camera battery died. But yeah, he really contemplates that in like later movies. It's almost like his purpose has no meaning no more, and what he's fight for isn't what like it used to be back in the day. The world is changing, and he's not liking it and stuff. And many people are saying that about like the world we live in now and the country we live in now. Many people don't see it as it used to be when they grew up, because things are changing and people are becoming more corrupt and shady and stuff. And that's what started happening in the MCU. Like, Shield was an organization that took him in. It's full of soldiers and spies and this and that. And his superiors and stuff are like just like the enemy he fought. Then in Civil War, his friends and allies, the Avengers, turned on him. And he's kind of like, well, heck, man, like, who can he trust? And these people, they're putting their own selfish needs ahead of like everybody else. And when they came out with the Sokovia Accords and everything, it limited where these heroes can go around the world doing any good. And he starts to wonder, what is all this becoming and stuff. And then, of course, you had the Infinity Saga, and it's just like, but later on, he starts to realize, this is why he is here. This is why all this other stuff is put in place. And he starts to become Captain America again, with brightly colored outfits and stuff like that once again. Like, he is the ultimate soldier. He is willing to go up against Thanos all by himself with a broken shield and his entire army and stuff. Like, the man, you can't put him down, because like he said, he can do this all day. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.